Welcome to another edition of Diplomatic Channel. I'm Amarachi Ubani. News media in Nigeria is agog with reports that the Qatari government rejected a proposal by the Nigerian government to hold a business and investment forum on the margins of President Bola Tinubu's visit on March 2nd, giving reasons for its decision as follows: that there is no agreement signed between the State of Qatar and the Federal Republic of Nigeria on investment promotion and protection, that the Minister of Commerce and Industry will be carrying out official missions outside the country during the upcoming visit period, and that the State of Qatar will be hosting a web summit during the suggested period, and the state authorities will be preoccupied with the event. The decision, which came as a note verbal from the Embassy of Qatar, was leaked to the press. The Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs was forced to release a statement stating the president will be visiting Qatar from March 2nd to March 3rd, 2024, to further cement the excellent relations between the two countries. A visit will provide the opportunity to discuss a wide range of bilateral and economic issues between the two countries. That statement was followed by another note verbal, which was transformed into a statement by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, stating the Embassy of the State of Qatar had clarified the line of events regarding the upcoming state visit by President Tinubu to Qatar from March 2nd to March 3rd regarding the hosting of a business and investment forum on the margins of the president's visit. The embassy reiterated the Qatar Chamber of Commerce will host the event on March 3rd as proposed by the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The question, however, is why did this make the headlines? I'm going to hazard a guess here and say that if the government of Qatar was rejecting Nigeria's attendance of a business meeting between the two, it would be tantamount to rejecting Africa's largest economy, hence not recognizing Nigeria's important position in the international community and relegating the country down on its list of priorities. But as we've come to find out, it's not the case with the statement backtracking the decision. Or were they afraid of the backlash and the implication of such a move on a country such as Nigeria? I'm hoping my guest on the program, Dr. Tony Ayamba of the University of Calabar, can explore a bit on that topic. In the meantime, ECOWAS held an extraordinary meeting on Saturday to reconsider the political, peace and security situation in West Africa. 9 heads of state were present, including Nigerian President Bola Tinubu, the Senegalese President Macky Sall. Other VIPs of the event were the President of the ECOWAS Commission, Dr. Omar Toure, Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security of the African Union Commission, on behalf of the chairperson, His Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, the President of the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, Governor of the Central Bank of West African States, ECOWAS Special Envoy on Counterterrorism and Special Representative of the United Nations Secretary General for West Africa and the Sahel and head of UNOWAS, as well as ECOWAS ambassadors to Nigeria and other states. ECOWAS announced it was lifting most sanctions imposed on Niger over last year's coup, some of which were the no-fly zone and border closures, which were being lifted with immediate effect. ECOWAS said the lifting of the sanctions is purely on humanitarian grounds to ease the sufferings caused as a result. And regarding the withdrawal of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger from the ECOWAS a few weeks ago, ECOWAS noted that the withdrawal will have political, socio-economic, financial and institutional implications for the 3 countries, as well as for ECOWAS as a group. But it insisted on the release of Nigerian President Mohamed Bazoum, as well as the lifting of sanctions on Niger. The authority decided to lift restrictions on the recruitment of citizens of the Republic of Mali to the professional positions within ECOWAS institutions, and also decided to lift financial and economic sanctions on the Republic of Guinea. The authority also instructs the President of the Commission to invite all 4 ECOWAS member states in transition to technical and consultative meetings of ECOWAS, as well as to all security-related meetings. ECOWAS also drew the attention of the 3 member states to Article 91 of the 1993 ECOWAS revised treaty regarding the procedures of withdrawal, while urging countries to reconsider the decision in view of the benefits that all ECOWAS member states and their citizens enjoy for being part of the community. It urged them to adhere to the provisions of the revised treaty. The Authority of Heads of Government directs the ECOWAS Commission to sustain the community's rapprochement and overtures towards the 3 member states and to broaden the community outreach towards the 3 member states to include traditional and religious leaders, eminent personalities, civil society, women leaders for the unity and security of the region, among others. ECOWAS spared a thought for the situation in Senegal here, calling on all Senegalese stakeholders to give priority to dialogue with a view to preserving the democratic gains of Senegal through a free, inclusive, and transparent presidential election.
It's the first extraordinary summit of the Economic Community of West African States, Authority of Heads of State and Government, holding in Abuja. It is focused on the peace, political and security situation in the ECOWAS sub-region. In his welcome address, the bloc's chairman, President Bola Tinubu, emphasized the importance of a comprehensive and collaborative approach to addressing pressing security and peace developments, as well as political situations in the republics of Niger, Burkina Faso, Guinea, and Mali.
Times like this, currently, we face in our sub-region demand that we take difficult but courageous decisions that put the plight of our people at the center of our deliberations. This is why we must re-examine our current approach to the quest for constitutional order in 4 of our member states.
He also reaches out to the military leaders in the 4 countries.
I therefore urge them to reconsider the decision of these 3 nations to exit our home and not to perceive our organization as the enemy. Of course, we are not the enemy.
The meeting then goes behind closed doors. Over 2 hours later, it is time to receive the resolutions reached.
The authority has resolved as follows. Release of President Bazoum. The authority calls for the immediate release of His Excellency Mohamed Bazoum, former President of the Republic of Niger. The authority also calls on the transition authorities in Niger to provide an acceptable transition timetable to constitutional order.
He also announced the lifting of some of the sanctions imposed on some of the countries.
The authority has resolved to lift with immediate effect the following measures imposed on the Republic of Niger. A, closure of land and air borders between ECOWAS countries and Niger to be lifted. No-fly zone of all commercial flights to and from Niger is to be lifted. Suspension of all commercial and financial transactions between ECOWAS member states and Niger is to be lifted. This decision is based on humanitarian considerations, especially as we are in the month of Lent and as we prepare for the holy month of Ramadan. The authority has also resolved to lift financial and economic sanctions on the Republic of Guinea.
A resolution was also taken on the notice of withdrawal by the 3 countries.
The authority takes note and further urges the countries to reconsider the decision in view of the benefits that the ECOWAS member states and their citizens enjoy in the community. The authority further urges the 3 member states to resort dialogue, negotiations, and mediation to address their concerns.
In response to the political crisis in Senegal, the authority urges Senegalese stakeholders to prioritize discussion in order to preserve Senegal's democratic advances through free, inclusive, and transparent elections.
For this extraordinary summit.
If you're a resident in Nigeria, you must have been feeling the economic pinch, and life as you know it has been harder. Have the president's economic policies been to the favor of the common man, and has a shuttle diplomacy made any impact? And these are all the issues I discussed with Dr. Tony Ayamba this week. Joining us now is Dr. Tony Ayamba of the University of Calabar at the Public Administrations Department. Dr. Tony, thank you for joining us on Diplomatic Channel.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. I wanted to get your reaction to ECOWAS' decision to suspend some of its sanctions on Niger. The sanctions were not suspended over Mali and Burkina Faso, but just Niger. Your thoughts on this?
Well, in the field of international relations, we often talk about the four C's, that is conflict, cooperation, coexistence, and competition. So sometimes countries are locked in competition. Sometimes countries just coexist, because sometimes countries cooperate, and then sometimes countries find themselves in conflict. So sometime last year, there was a conflictual relationship between some countries in the ECOWAS sub-region and Niger, particularly Nigeria, being Niger's neighbor, felt worried when Niger fell into the hands of a military junta. Recall that in July 2023, the former president Mohamed Bazoum was toppled, and since then he's been placed on house arrest. He's been in solitary confinement. And so ECOWAS, led by Nigeria, first of all, reacted by issuing an order for a return to civil rule in Niger. But the junta remained defiant. And from issuing an order, there was threat of military action. The junta remained defiant. Later on, sanctions were imposed, and it took calls from some founding fathers of the ECOWAS, like former president, former head of state Yakubu Gowon. It took the intervention of the likes of Gowon, for ECOWAS to reach where they found themselves now. Recall that last week, Gowon did ask that sanctions be lifted, sanctions against some ECOWAS countries be lifted. And then at a meeting of ECOWAS head of states that which held on Saturday, the president of ECOWAS Commission announced after the meeting that the body was lifting sanctions against Niger, although it was clearly stated in the communique that economic sanctions were lifted, political sanctions remain, and then the communique clearly cited humanitarian grounds. In the speech, we heard that one of the reasons for lifting sanction is because of Lent and the Ramadan that's coming soon. So the communique also added that those sanctions were lifted so that the citizens of Niger would feel some relief, because you agree with me that the hoi polloi, the masses, the ordinary Nigerians, certainly felt the bites from the sanctions more than the military leaders. So ECOWAS.
Yes, but what did you make of ECOWAS? What did you make of ECOWAS' decision, though, Dr. Tony? What did you make of ECOWAS' decision? The fact that it's coming at this time, do you think that perhaps the withdrawal by Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso had anything to do with this, apart from the reasons that ECOWAS gave, which are humanitarian reasons, which you've rightly pointed out?
Yes, the juntas in these countries remain defiant. Recall that they went as far as forming an alliance of Sahel states. When ECOWAS threatened military action against Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali say they were going to support Niger fully, I mean, should there be any form of military action against Niger, they will fight on the side of Niger. So this was an obvious instance of division, clear division within the body, and of course they remain defiant. They decided to walk away. They decided to issue a statement a few weeks ago that they were leaving the body. And I think this recent move by ECOWAS is just a face-saving measure.
Now you say that these countries, the junta in these countries are defiant. You think that's the only reason why ECOWAS is lifting the sanctions on Niger and then reconsidering its actions towards Burkina Faso and Mali?
Well, ECOWAS fears disintegration. Don't forget that ECOWAS was formed in 1975, so it is 49 years old now, and some founding fathers, like I earlier said, have expressed concern over the possible disintegration of the body. You know, it's a 15-nation regional bloc. So for fear of disintegration, I think ECOWAS thought it wise to rescind its decision, its earlier decision to impose sanctions on Niger. No doubt, economic sanctions have been lifted, but ECOWAS says the political sanctions remain. But the Nigerian authorities haven't issued a statement yet as of today, although the ordinary Nigerians have marched onto the streets expressing joy over the lifting of sanctions.
What do you think? What do you think they would respond? What do you think would be their response for Niger, for Burkina Faso, for Mali, but especially for Niger, which has had these economic sanctions lifted? What kind of response do you think it will give ECOWAS?
Recall that these countries, notably Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, have formed an alliance called Alliance of the States in the Sahel, or simply put, Alliance of the Sahel States. So they possibly have their backing too. Don't forget the role of China and Russia in all of this. Yes, these countries are trying to assert themselves, turn their backs against their former colonial masters that they see more or less as their enslavers. So they are trying to assert themselves and cut themselves off the apron strings of the West. And in all of this, China and Russia are making inroads into West Africa. So I think they might stand on their decision to not necessarily come back to ECOWAS. In all of this, diplomacy remains the best solution. So I see ECOWAS continuing to lobby them, maybe reduce sanctions more so as to have them back. Because, like I said, the 49-year-old regional body fears disintegration too.
Yeah. And coming back home now to Nigeria, I know that you're well aware of the economic hardship that's biting harder on individuals and lots of people, the masses, everyone is complaining. But inflation rates is set to have increased in the last quarter of last year when you compare that with the last quarter of 2022. And then the president embarked on a number of shuttle diplomacies last year. Most of the places he went to, he told them one single line: Nigeria is ready for business. You think we're beginning to see, are we seeing any impact of this shuttle diplomacy at all and its reflection on Nigerians?
I would say no, because come to think of it, nobody wants to cast his money on the waters. These countries, as much as they have their own challenges, they are very much abreast of the situation in Nigeria. Nigeria is in dire straits at the moment. It would take audacious leadership to fix the problem we are facing. Nobody's going to come fix your problem for you. Nobody's going to come change your system for you. Nobody is going to come turn things around for you. Yes, no doubt the president has embarked on a couple of trips. So far, the president has visited Paris, has visited France, the United Kingdom. He has gone to Guinea-Bissau. He's gone to Kenya. He's gone to Benin Republic. He's gone to India. He's gone to the United Arab Emirates. He has traveled to New York, in the United States. He has traveled to Saudi Arabia. He has traveled to Germany. He has traveled to a couple of countries. He has even had to embark on some trips that we were told are private. The other time we were told he went to France to rest. The other time we were told he went to France on private visit. I think I recall that a certain Punch newspaper report carried that the president's foreign trips within his first 6 months in office had gulped about 3.4 billion. That's humongous. That's huge for a country that is going through economic challenges. I haven't yet seen the tangibles from these trips, even though some would argue that it would take time. Some would argue that it's in the long run that these trips would the impact of these trips would be seen. But at the moment, there hasn't been any impact.
Just before we go, I just want to quickly ask this question. You already know what's going on in the news, and that's the back and forth between the government of Qatar and Nigeria about the business meeting that's supposed to take place in March, the first week of March, and the Qatari government releasing that note verbal that went viral, saying that they had no idea, and then the Minister of Commerce will not be around. What do you think is really going on here? Because the Qatari government has, retraced its steps with that one and has finally announced, yes, it will be holding that business meeting with Nigeria. Why do you think, they backtracked on this? Were they afraid of public backlash, perhaps?
I think so. Nigeria, no doubt, is seen as a giant in Africa. Within the West African sub-region, Nigeria is seen as a big brother. But the recent happenings in the country haven't occurred so well. I mean, I've been bad for the optics of the country. We woke up to the news that the Qatari authority denied having knowledge of the visit. I think that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. But somehow, the situation has been managed, and I think it's more or less a face-saving measure. But I think the situation has been brought under control now.
Dr. Tony Ayamba, thank you so much for speaking with us on Diplomatic Channel.
Thank you.
The chairman of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri-Erewa, says the continent must harness the potential of its diaspora community. She was speaking during a visit from a Zimbabwean delegation led by High Commissioner Ambassador Maxwell Ranga. Highlighting the importance of collaboration between Africans at home and abroad, she expressed optimism about the positive impact that such synergy could have on addressing socio-economic challenges and realizing the collective vision for Africa's future. President of Senegal, Macky Sall, says he will leave office when his term comes to an end on April the 2nd, but tensions remain over an election date. His recent decision to delay the vote, originally scheduled for Sunday, to mid-December sparked deadly protests. In a televised interview, Mr. Sall said an election date would now be decided in political talks to start on Monday. but the opposition has refused to take part in the proposed dialogue, dashing hopes of resolving the turmoil. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says 31,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed during the Russian invasion of the country. President Zelensky made the statement on Sunday in Kiev, as he said he would not give the number of wounded as that would help Russian military planning. Ukrainian officials do not usually make casualty figures public, and other estimates are much higher. It comes after Defense Minister Rustem Umerov said half of all Western aid for Ukraine has been delayed, costing lives and territory.
This is where we end Diplomatic Channel today. Thank you for watching. I invite your questions and comments using any of the social media handles displayed on your screen. I'm Amarachi Ubani. I'll see you next time.